and Paul Show, brought to you by the Ministry League at theministryleague.com and ministryleague.com. Also on social media with Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are excited to host this event every single week that we can. Also on YouTube, check it out. Not just this show, but many other wonderful shows. That was our preview for a big event that we'll talk about in just a minute. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, John Podine. He's with me. Caleb Sampson is in the studio putting it on, and there he is. And John, what's up with you today?
Man, it is crazy, Paul. We are down to our last episode for this season, for our last show for this season. We'll be doing some stuff this summer, but man, it's crazy. Week has been crazy. The last 2 weeks have been crazy. Your week's about to get even more crazy. And woo! We are here. I am sitting here live from Calhoun, Georgia. And you will be live soon from Marietta, Georgia.
That's correct. It seems like everywhere John goes, he finds a window with blinds to make part of our show. And so I'm really excited.
Yes, you are correct on all that. So, hey, everything's going great. We are here. And oh, my goodness, Travis Creasy's already saying roll tide to you, Paul. Crazy that it's already started in here.
Roll tide.
Oh, my goodness. Make me laugh.
I hope those dogs are ready because here we go.
I will say, Paul, you're definitely going to be into a different location where you won't be as friendly. It won't be as friendly to you as an Alabama fan.
I have two shepherds that are Bama fans, so I'm pretty excited.
Well,
I think they asked me that first.
If you were an Alabama or Auburn fan.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So
it's like, let's not be blasphemous.
I will say this: moving to Georgia, you will have at least somebody to go on board to hate with Auburn, because I think Georgia may hate Auburn more than it hates Florida at times.
Sometimes I think it depends on who beat them last, for sure.
Yeah. So Paul, man, are you excited? How are things going? I know we got some wonderful things that we're going to talk about here today. That video that just showed, man, this next year is going to be unbelievably exploding.
There is a lot of cool things about to happen. Right now, I am sort of, if it's a proper word, I am betwixt the situation. You have the light versus the dark. You have good versus bad in life. But right now, I'm between the good and the good.
Oh, because you have a background sitting there with the black side and the white hexagons.
But right now, I am between the good and the good. Finishing up my time here at Palisades Church, and appreciate the good people here for the way in which they have loved our family and the way in which they'll continue to love our family. And so there are definitely some folks here I'm really, really going to miss. And so one of those, actually, I'll be hanging out with this afternoon. So I'm looking forward to that. Big shout out to Josias Diaz. Talk to you in a few minutes. But we are excited about the time we've spent here. We're going to miss it. We're going to miss our house. We're going to miss our home here, but we are looking so forward to our new home in Ball Ground, Georgia, not too far from Marietta, which is where the Piedmont Road Church of Christ sits. And we are super excited to work with that good church. Good people, great eldership. Oh, my word, great eldership. Just really forward thinking and really want to see the kingdom grow. And they say yes to opportunities to spread God's word, and so that's what it's all about. And we're super stoked about every single possibility that goes with it. And this Sunday is my last Sunday at Palisades. I'll be preaching Sunday morning, and then the following Sunday, May 30th, is my first Sunday at Piedmont Road. I will be preaching then as well.
Are you going to preach the same sermon?
We don't talk about that.
Preachers don't use the same sermon, do they?
Sermon. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Jake will be out of town, but he'll be back getting ready for the Connect event happening, which I want to talk about that in just a few minutes too. So yeah, a lot of cool things happening.
Yeah, well, this will be my first Sunday in Calhoun, and I will be preaching this Sunday. So there you go. If you're near any of our areas, go hear some of us. Go hear some preaching. Go find a church. Go
stuff.
go find a faithful church out there and be a part of them on Sunday morning. But Paul, one of the things you did mention there about what you were talking about with your with Piedmont Road and the elders and looking forward and trying to do with church growth is kind of what we wanted to talk about and kind of finish out with our last episode of this season, was to give you the meat and the bones of what we've been talking about the last few weeks.
We do, but we also want to go ahead and plug two big things. One that's actually going to be happening in just a couple of weeks, and one that's going to happen a year from now. And so the year from now will be first. It is a year from now. Is the Ministry League experience. You just saw the video. John and I, in fact, probably our next show will depict a little more about what the experience will be all about, because really the experience starts now. I mean, it starts with your Ministry League app and your opportunity to share God's word. And that's the crazy thing about this. You know John, you know myself, and you know what we're involved in, you know what we do, what we love. But what's happening with this, it's a year-long, everyday ordeal it's a positive thing, and it's a discipleship thing. And it's the workings of everything starting now to then and past that. And it started in London a couple of years ago.
Well, Paul, it's kind of like this thing of what I'll speak from a lad's perspective of things. With lads, one of the things that people miss. Oh, good morning, Colin. Me and Collins apparently are going to be on the same summer series together coming up. So excited about that. With lads, everybody always has a misconception that it's always about convention. It's always about doing that. No, it's about a year-round thing. And what we're trying to say here with Ministry League and this Ministry League experience about its starting day, it is a year-round thing. It's an all-world thing. It is where you're at thing. It is a constant thing. And so that's kind of what we wanted to do, Paul, is to get out of this mindset of church that it's just a Sunday thing. And I go to church and I check my box and I go home. But there are a lot of people that need to be introduced to the kingdom of God. Yeah.
And so we talk about the ministry experience. You go to the app, you're going to see the podcast or listen to the podcast or see them, depending on what kind of show it is, and get involved with that, with also the songs we have on there and the experience you get through the app. And there's so many other things. Like, when was the last time you had a baptism? Because sometimes you pull up in the file cabinet a certificate to fill out and hand to them. We have a digital certificate you can get from the app. John, did you even know that? Did you know that?
No.
Okay, you didn't know that. Well, anyway, we have all kinds of cool things that are out there, events. Don't forget, one of the biggest part of what we do is Exposure Youth Camp, and we're excited about that. A whole lot of things about that will happen later in the year. Looking forward to that too. But this ministry experience is something for everybody. We're going to have a creators conference where we're introducing using keynote speakers you've probably never heard of, and some exciting, innovative guys that are and women that'll be there to speak and teach and do some stuff. Some of which are connected that actually are going to be at LJ this weekend, and I'd like to go ahead and mention that too. If Caleb can speak up, I'd like for him to do that. And so we have a great opportunity we have like 30 podcasts. I think it's like probably 23, 24. But we have a bunch of podcasts that Caleb is the director of, and one of those represents the Stronger Marriage situation. And so go ahead, Caleb, if you don't mind, give us a commercial real quick.
Okay. Trey and Lee Morgan will be here at LJ starting tonight and through Saturday. It's an awesome opportunity to listen to people that are passionate about marriage. And it's really important that we put work into it. If it's not growing, it's going backwards. And it really is. It's funny and fun. And they go through and walk us through how God views marriage and what the Bible teaches. And it's really kind of neat to see, the Holy Spirit inspired all these writings in Scripture. And so it's a great reminder of how important this is and to God and what a great thing for our congregation, but it's also open to anyone in the area. It's free. There's free childcare. So if nothing else, you get a break from your kids and get to focus on some biblical principles in marriage. And it really is a blessing. Trey and Lee are two of the best that I have seen and heard just nationwide, not just in the Brotherhood, on the topic of marriage. They've got 2 books, and they're working on a third, Stronger Marriages, 10 Ways to a Stronger Marriage, and the Proverbs or Psalms 31 devotional series for couples. And they're just doing awesome things. They already made it here to LJ. They're staying actually in Mike Underwood's cabin, and he's a preacher there down in the Atlanta area. So just it's going to be an exciting and awesome weekend. Trey's going to be speaking on Sunday morning for us as well on Stronger Families, and so it's a fun thing. We've been gearing up for it.
Awesome. And so Friday night, this is Friday. What time tonight does it start?
It starts at 6:30, 6:45 with desserts and registration if you haven't gotten registered. But registration just helps us get an idea of how much food to prepare for. Tomorrow we're doing barbecue sandwiches. It's going to be a good lunch for everybody. Everything's free. So come on out if you're in the area.
Best word out of any of that right there, Paul, is that
So if you need food, go get that food.
Yep.
And enrich your marriage all at the same time. It's great.
Hey, we do have a comment here that Travis has commented that says, "Can you get me Trey and Lee's autograph?" And so that is on you there, Caleb.
I can do that
and not leave our boy Travis hanging here.
Dude, I want that too, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to be showing them around the area this afternoon and eating supper with them, and then they'll be hanging out Saturday afternoon and seeing all the things that the North Georgia area has to offer. And it's going to be a great weekend.
If you've never been to North Georgia, you need to make the trip. It's well worth it. It's a beautiful place. And contact the LJ folks. They'd love to have you this weekend. Great event. And thanks, Caleb, for helping plug that right thing. The other thing is the Connect event, the Connect conference that will be at Creve Hall in Nashville. That is June the 2nd through the 4th, I believe. 2nd through the 4th. And so basically it's all ministry opportunities right there in one place. And so go there. A lot of good speakers, David Shannon. I think Kurt Rose will be there, Ralph Gilmore and some others, Keith
Dale
Parker, Dale Jenkins, probably Jeff Jenkins. And so go there. It'll be well worth it. Look for the Ministry League table. We'll have a table set up with our new Ministry League and Ministry League experience cards and information for that too. So go there and check that out. A big shout out to Alan Stevens, one of the deacons at the Concord Road Church of Christ in Nashville, who's kind of spearheading this event, doing a great job of promoting it. And so we really want to do that and give that shout out here and doing that. Check that out. I think it's also free. Check that out and go there. And good pricing on hotels too if you're out of town. It's really worth it. If you need more information, send us an email, call me, send an email at paul@ministryleague.com, and we'll get that to you. Also, Ministry League Experience, wonderful event. We'll talk more about that as we go. But as John mentioned, this is our last podcast for the season. We will do some other stuff through the summer, but this is it. We need to round out the Acts formula, John.
Yeah. And Paul, the things we've been talking about with the Ministry League Experience, this Connect ministry thing is what, and we talked about this Monday at the Preachers Workshop where we were at together, is that this, where we're at right now in our coming off the pandemic, churches are trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here now? And it's giving congregations a chance to kind of reset, refocus, and re-energize for the Lord's work. And that what we learned from the pandemic is there's many different ways that we can do it now, and some ways that we were maybe afraid to go down and do. And now we are, and doors are opening because of it. And so now how churches are going to take together and push forward and grow. And that's kind of where our Acts formula is all about. And we talked about last couple of weeks about teams and building and starting from there. But today we're getting into that meat of what this program is all about.
Yeah, I want to finish up or bridge that gap there with the team stuff and really communicate this, that it's not just about having a 2.5 preachers and a secretary. It's about people in a church, personalities and relationships that need to get up and go. If you are worshiping at a church and you talk about growth a lot and your members don't do anything extra and you're not growing, that's why. The only way to have something you've never had before, to grow in a way you've never grown before, is to do things you've never done before. You have to get out there, and you can't expect a paid staff member to carry the load. It just doesn't work that way. They bring the resources, they bring the know-how, and they can build morale, but they can't do it by themselves. And we got to work together. Team concept is not about an office staff; it's about a church membership.
I think you just hit something on the head. Is how one person can't. The paid staff can't just do it all of themselves. They're the ones who bring in the resources. Look at your paid staff as your catalyst. They are the person, they're the captain that's sitting out here saying, here's the idea, here's some resources we have, and help driving this, if I can say it, driving this bus or driving this boat or whatever we need to do. They're the catalysts that are sitting here and encouraging. They get the pulpit on Sundays to be able to encourage members to do it. But really the heart of church growth is what you said, Paul. It's everybody involved. It's not the one person. It's everybody getting involved and doing their part.
And it leads into the having ownership in your church. When I say that, don't take it the wrong way. There's not multitude of churches, okay? There is one church. The Bible specifically talks about the ones. Go to Ephesians 4 and find all that out. We know that's true. But your congregation, you need to love it. You need to own it. You need to that's your home. You know, my last name is Spurlin. His last name is Podine. We love our last names, but the name Christian is going to last much longer. And we need to take ownership in that and love it, appreciate the people we're around, the people that are part of our team, the congregation we attend, and be proud of that. Because if we don't recognize the fact and we don't recommend our church, then what good are we to our team?
Well, Paul, and that's why we've got to get people to fall back in love with the church and fall back in love with what Jesus built, what he died for. And that's why we encourage everybody with this. And this is why we have all of this based on the book of Acts, because to me, and you know, we talked about this when I taught at Faulkner, the most exciting class I had to teach is because to me, my favorite class to teach is the book of Acts, because to me, it is the most exciting book in all of the Bible, because it talks about this marvelous growth of if we want to put it in a business sense, this marvelous growth of an organization that started with a few people up in an upper room, and then has turned into what it is today globally. And it started right there. And so that's why we've based all of this on the book of Acts.
So Jesus told his disciples, basically in Acts chapter 1, basically you're going to go to Jerusalem, you're going to go to Judea, you're going to go to Samaria, you're going to go to the outer parts of the world to do this. And so what John and I have done is we've broke this up into 4 phases, basically 3 months each. There's a timeline that goes with this. This isn't just hearsay. This isn't just a dream. This is literally Bible. This is a biblical thing. We're not reinventing the wheel. This is something that worked for Jesus, his disciples, and his apostles. His situation and what we know this from Matthew 28, the end of the chapter, you go to Mark 16 in the chapter. There's a reason why we're told to go. There's a reason why we're supposed to do that. And in some cases, it means to go across the world. But in some cases, it means going across the hallway and across the street.
Well, Paul, I think you just nailed it there. Because when we think of evangelism, when we think of church growth, those are words that we're automatically like, oh, yes, we know what we need to do, but we're kind of scared of doing it because like you said, we hear what Jesus said in Matthew 28, go and do all the world and make disciples. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's big. It's a big world. And it's almost like we get this just too big of a mindset here of like, whoa, we can't do this. This is too big for us. And so we just sit back in our own little pew in our own little community in our own little town. And I think what we have found is that Jesus gave that formula there in Acts chapter 1 to say, yeah, you're going to go in all the world, but there's some steps here first. Take care of Jerusalem. Take care of Judea, then Samaria, then you go to, and I think that's where a lot of churches fail, Paul, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that sometimes we're like, oh, we need to do this. So we come up with these great plans, or we come and do these things and we just start throwing things out, and they're almost too big for us to do at that moment because we kind of got to start smaller and we got to start where we're at home.
We get so overwhelmed by going to all the world. It's like, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then you think, you know what? There's a lot of other people in the world. I bet they can do that. Mm-hmm. You know, we need to destroy the 80-20 rule. You know, we need to destroy the 80-20 rule because we rely so much on the 20% to do it all, while the 80% sits in the pews and say, I'll see you Sunday or Wednesday, and maybe Wednesday. Right. You know, we need to destroy the 80-20 rule and say, my purpose for being here, God created me and you for the same purpose, and that is to share Jesus. And it means sharing it with our friends and family, not just the people across the world. It's people everywhere. And all of us have a part to play in that. And if we're not doing it, we're not helping. We're not being a part of the solution.
Right. And that's why we start with that first phase of being the Jerusalem phase. The disciples didn't go out and go to Samaria and go to the othermost parts of the world 50 days after Jesus resurrected. They were sitting right there in Jerusalem, and that's where it started. In fact, it took them years to finally get out of Jerusalem and that Judea area to start going. So that's why we're trying to say this is not an overnight thing, but you've got to start at home. You've got to look within yourself. And that's why we think, Paul, right now, coming off of this pandemic, it's a perfect time to reevaluate, readjust where you're at, and refocus about what is really important.
So you find what your strengths are, you find what your weaknesses are, you address those things, and you admit those things and be honest with yourself. And that's going to make this a lot easier. And so, and John has done a lot more of the research on this as far as doing the research part. And talk about that formula, what we can do to facilitate the needs of the strengths and weaknesses there.
Well, Paul, and what we encourage every church to do is, and if you don't know what it is, contact us. Contact us at john@ministrylead.com, paul@ministrylead.com. Contact us and reach us out. Is that we encourage every congregation to do what's called a SWOT analysis. A lot of business people do these things in this world of whether it is you're looking for your strengths, you're looking for your weaknesses, you're looking for your opportunities, and you're looking for your threats. And threats not necessarily in a negative thing. You've got to look at where you're at. You may not have the resources in your congregation. You may not have the infrastructure in your congregation to do some of these things you want. And so that's why you've got to start building within first before you can go without. And that's what we're asking for everybody to do, is look at where you're at. Be honest with yourself. When we were at the preacher's workshop the other day, you heard a bunch of men, Paul, being honest with where they were as a congregation, where they were, where they have been, and where they want to go. And that's where you've got to start doing. That's why I believe Jesus said you start in Jerusalem first, because you've got to take care of home. Travis said in here on the comments that the changes we want in our world start with me and then next door. And that's why it has to start right there.
That's a really good point. I think we also need to understand it's also about rebranding. That maybe what you look like as a church, where you sit in your community, that maybe there's some webs that have been gathered. Maybe there's some dust that sits. It's time to clean up the house.
Right.
It's time to let the community know this is different. We're doing things differently. And rebranding, literally, if it means a new logo and a new website, in most cases, that's what that means. And don't fool yourself and don't kid yourself and thinking people aren't going to your website to find out they want to visit you or not. I promise you they are.
Yep.
It is the doorstep to people coming to visit you.
And you want to know something? So what I found here, just being here in this week, and of course I wasn't here. So somebody had planned to come to worship here last Sunday, but the website still had an old time on there. And they had went to the website and missed it because of pandemic. They had switched the time. We're not knocking anything, but that is something that we've got to pay attention to. And that's what you've got to do, and do all these things. And we want you to sit here and focus upon where do you want to go as a congregation, get with your elders, get with your deacons, get with the members of saying, here's where we want to go. And then you shape during this Jerusalem phase, this first phase, everything around that. We encourage, and we want to say this, we encourage every single church to pull out your Bibles, dust off that book of Acts, and go from Acts chapter 1 to the end and look at what they did and get re-excited about what the Lord's church can be about.
It's the best thing. It's the best place to start. When you're willing to implement a growth problem or a growth situation, let's not say problem, let's say challenge, and let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. Let's see what Jesus and his followers did. You're going to see all these conversions. You're going to look at those. You're going to relate to a lot of them. To some you won't. You're probably not in jail much when things go crazy and people love about the gospel. Probably not.
At least we hope not.
Yeah, hope not. But, and you may not approach a body of water and some say, let's go. You may, whether you're at camp or you're at church or you're in town and you have a conversation and what do I do now? You're going to find where some of these conversions are coming to life to you. You're going to have an opportunity to see these things work and look around and say, I can make that work right here. in my own community. And that's what the phase one is all about. That's the first 3 months. John, tell them what happens in the next month 4.
Well, those 3 to 6 months really is really dealing with that, digging that in, like Paul said, looking at these conversions, looking how they interacted with each other. To me, one of the most exciting chapters in the book of Acts has nothing to do with conversions. It has everything to do with different. I know we don't want sex within the or schisms within the body of Christ, but there were divisions within the body of Christ in Acts 15. But how they learned to work together and still be in fellowship and still be brethren, to me, is one of the most exciting sections of all the book of Acts, and seeing how they did all that. But once you get excited and you get the church excited, then here's what we want you to do. Any business that gets started, and many of you, if you've been in sales and you've like insurance sales in particular is what I'm thinking of, where do they want you to go, Paul? They want you to call your family, they want you to call your neighbors, or your very close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And if we aren't starting right there with trying to build the church from those three areas, then we've got to really come back and focus on what we're doing.
Right. I think that's the biggest part of it when you look at the formula and you're talking about the different groups, different sects of people. This is the time. Our nation needs this now more than ever. And knocking the walls down, loving each other, respecting each other. God's message is for all, and his grace and mercy is offered to every single person who's ever breathed on this earth. And so we need to make sure and deliver that message to them for sure. So friends and family is a big part of this second session. Anything else on the friends and family in Judea there we're talking about here?
Well, what you do is during this Jerusalem time to get ready for this Judea time is that's when you're making your plan. So when you get to the Judea section, you're getting to the next thing. You're beginning to look, like you said, Paul, to the friends and family. We're beginning to look at the immediate community in which our churches are located. I mean, if people do not in your community do not know the name of your congregation, do not know where you're even located, whoa, back up, and we need to take a step back and look at some of these things and strategize and take your time. And so what you're doing during that second phase is, Paul, you are strategizing about the greater community at large in your area. That's your Samaria.
It's the preemptive. Here we go to that. Yes. So just to recap, we start by talking about us, our church right here. We deal with this. Then we talk about friends and family. You know, what can we do to encourage our friends and family? And then now we got that point. Now we're working on community outreach. What does the community, as John just mentioned, what does the community think of me? Do they know about our congregation? They know what we do. Are we involved in the community? Number one, if you are not involved in the community, shame on you. And change that today. Change that today. Your building, your church building is a building. Rock, mortar, wood, siding. Use that. Let the community use that and be a part of that. Find ways to bring them into your building. And this is off script here. Not that we're on much of a script here. But John, tell them a good example of allowing a congregation to use your building for the better part of the kingdom. And I can't think of a better one than what y'all do at Calhoun.
Well, right here at Calhoun, what we have is we have our early learning center that's associated with it. It goes up to pre-K 4, and it is known within this community because of going to the elementary schools. When the kids go to elementary schools, when they come out of it, they're more than ready for school. They're more than ready to go, but it gives a great opportunity whether we're working with 150 families to plus more. Sorry, got a fly in this office here right now. I'm about to beat it with my Chick-fil-A cup. That to outreach and to do it. But if I'm honest, the congregation here hasn't used it in what they need to do, and so things that you've got. All of you have opportunities to do it. Paul said something a second ago, too, I wanted to touch on, too. Getting into your community where they know you. If you are in a smaller community, now, I'm going to be in a different community where I'm at than when Paul is going to work out in Marietta, because Marietta sitting here is a suburb of Atlanta. It's bigger. I'm living in a smaller community. I went to a coffee shop yesterday downtown, and just started talking with the people. Just started saying, hey, moving back here in the area. Calhoun Church of Christ, 2 of them knew exactly where I was. 1 did not. And so I'm like, okay, well, we're right here. And so I had that conversation with him and I said, I will see you back here and we'll talk some more. Something just that simple of getting out where people know who you are.
I love it. Another part of that too with the community thing is what we're doing right now, which is podcasting.
Right.
Is making messages at church. You can do it through Facebook Live. You can do it on a grand scale, like what we do with Ministry League, or you can do it just simply through your own phone. Just post something about your church and what's going on, and then communicate that way. Some congregations do that and do their announcements on Sunday morning, John. I don't know if you knew that, but some congregations use that for their announcements. I say that because John did that one time.
Yeah.
So I think podcasting is good. I think door knocking is an older way of doing things that happened back a long time ago, and I think it's still, to a certain degree, still works today. I know we're just now trying to get out of the pandemic, and I know that I believe it's October 2nd. If I'm not, somebody tell me wrong.
Somewhere around there, that first at the beginning of October.
That there's a lot of groups among the church that are doing this together, and so we're going to get in the community and do it that way and show how that can work in whatever community you live in. So it's a big deal to get out there, like what John said. Talk about it. You don't have to be a staff member to carry a card that represents your church. We have some at the church building just sitting on a table. Just grab it and go and just share it with people.
If you will look at it, Paul, and we've talked about this, and we're not comparing and looking at other denominations and things they do, but one thing that you can say, the church, the growth of certain denominations right now has nothing to do with that local preacher, has everything to do with their members, them posting things, whether it's on social media, them getting out in the community. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to, they love their church, Paul. It's okay to love your church. Mm-hmm. It's okay to love the church that Jesus died for, and to be excited about it, and to get people to come and to be a part. But when they come, you better be excited about the Lord's church as well.
Yeah. Growth research of the church on the broad spectrum of things. This is amongst all believers. Okay. Please know that the research on this, 4% are there because of the preacher. 4%. 85%. 85% are there because a friend invited them to church. The power of the average member far exceeds that of any staff member.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're begging you and communicating to you and to all of us that you have an opportunity to reach people that we may never reach. That's why youth ministry is such a big deal. It's a big deal because when you teach your young people how to talk to people about Jesus, they reach and see people we'll never have a chance to get in front of.
Right.
So it's we need to take advantage of this and don't underestimate the power of a teenager. Keep that in mind.
And that, Paul, leads right into what we're talking about with that fourth phase is then your uttermost parts of the world. Then hopefully by that point, this is in your DNA. This is not something that you're having to get up and cheerlead every Sunday. This is not something that you're having to do. Look, we think once a year or once every 2 years, definitely you need to go back and remind yourself and fall back in love again and keep this thing going. But hopefully by that point, then guess what? Then it's inside your DNA. Paul will probably be affected by this more than where I will be affected by this, is because he is in Marietta and Atlanta has so many different suburbs. You will have people driving 45 minutes to an hour to get around town to come to it. There's your uttermost parts of the world. Same thing with people who live in the Nashville area, who, if you live especially in big city areas, this will probably mean more to you than people who live in a smaller community, because you are pulling people in from that are driving an hour, and they're used to driving an hour to work. So going to church in an hour is not a big a deal. If they find something that are people who are sound in the faith, who love the Lord, who are active, and they're serving their community and they're serving each other and they're worshiping with some excitement and that they're excited to be there, you will reach more than you ever think you could.
That's a great point. And something to keep in mind too, as we go through this, is this Acts formula, as we said before, it comes from the first chapter of the book of Acts, and the study of Acts just increases and helps build on all that. But we need to make sure this Acts formula is part of our DNA as Christians. Mm-hmm. As much as I know we had some fun with it at the beginning, we always do when it comes to college football. Podine's a Gator fan. I mean, he lived most all of his life in Florida, so it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it now. And most of the people that are around us, most of the people around us in the state of Georgia are Georgia fans, because they're brought up around it. I get it. I'm a Bama fan. You have your team. You're passionate about your team. You'll do crazy things for your team. And you live for Saturdays to watch your team. But what are you doing on Sundays? Is it part of your DNA to be a Christian that shares your Sunday team? Is it a part of who you are? Do you get dressed up? Do you buy the T-shirts? Do you promote the stuff on Sunday as much as you do on Saturday? And that's the point we're trying to make. And I know that I'm probably stepping on a few toes there. I was
going to say, I'm hurting. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
We're trying to build the priority because we're all here. I know this sounds harsh to a lot of folks. We are not here based on NCAA football. We are here based on the fact that Jesus went to the cross. And we have an opportunity to do what we can do to bring as many people to him as possible.
Right.
And so that's really, folks and brethren, that's what this comes down to. And should I offer the invitation now? I don't know. But it's definitely something to think about. There's a guy.
And Paul, that's what it comes down to with everything that we're talking about. It's nothing fancy. It's not some fancy program to sit back here and say, oh, yeah, if I do this, plug in, blah, blah, blah. It's about what you just said, Paul. It's about, do we have that same excitement for Jesus on Sunday that we do for our team come Saturday?
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's it. That's the meat on the bone when it comes to the things that goes on with the ACTS formula. We do sometimes spell the ACTS formula AXE based on Proverbs 27:17. It's about sharpening that axe, and it kind of works hand in hand. It's a play on words there, actually. Oh, there you go.
It is a good play on words. You're creative, Paul.
Yeah, just that one time. Okay, so based on this, we also have a list of some outreach opportunities. We're not going to break them down word for word, but we do want to throw a few things at you. John, do you have this list as well?
I do not have it in front of me.
Okay, I want to start it, and you can kind of mention towards it. The first one's pretty easy. You have a group of your folks together. You basically say, come up with 3 names, 3 people that you know that are not attending church, and just 3 names, and have an opportunity to sit in front of them. If you'd like for someone else, one of your ministers or another member to sit with you and stay with them, that's fine. But have those 3 names. Write it down somewhere where you can pray about them and have conversation with them. And that's the first one.
Mm-hmm. Well, Paul, and that's people will say, well, that's pretty simple. Yeah. Evangelism, church growth is not hard. We make it hard because we think it is.
It's about relationship.
Yes, it's all about having that relationship. And here's the thing that I do think we've messed up before in the past, as a preacher, because I've said this even before as a preacher, is write the name down, give it to me, and let me handle it. No. I think we've messed up on that. The preacher can go with you, and if you need help with study or whatever else like that, you have that relationship with them. I don't have that relationship with them. Paul doesn't have that relationship with them. We'd love to go and talk. You have that relationship with them to open that door.
Absolutely. That's great. The second one here, and we got about 7 here. I'll go through these really quickly here. Hold a discovery Bible study in members' homes, maybe at the church building, maybe at Starbucks.
Yep.
Or Barrel House Coffee House, or the bougie place that John goes to. So there's, sit down with the Bible, and this is how Discovery Bible Study works if you're not familiar with it. You basically have 4 or 5 passages, or 4 or 5 verses of a passage. Let's just say it's John 14, 1-4. And you read the 4 verses together, and then you ask somebody else to read it, and then you ask a couple of questions. How does this affect you as a person? How does this affect any of your friends? And how does this affect God? And different people read, different people talk about it, discuss, and you just talk about it. It's a cool, neat way just to discuss. It's Discovery Bible Study. Discover the Bible together.
One thing, Paul, that we have seen from this pandemic is that, guess what? You can have Bible study. You can get together and do things away from the building.
Yeah.
And away from the normal time that we have scheduled. That is what I think one of the biggest impacts we will see from the pandemic is some of the things that we used to hold to say we had to do it and we had to do it this way because this is what we've always done. That dichotomy got split in half. And so it gives us this opportunity, and the Discovery Bible Study is a great way to be able to use that. And it's easy. It's not hard. Like one thing Travis just said in here, I always try to go into any study with a mind to learn just as much as I am there to educate. If you are a preacher and you're watching this, if you're a minister and you are watching this, and you think you have all the answers and that you're there to impart all of this wonderful knowledge that I have because I have this degree or I've studied this language, and I'm going to ask you something very nicely. Get out of ministry and re-humble your heart, because what Travis just said is absolutely right.
I love what he said. I even commented to it.
Yeah.
Like that, we don't need to act like we have all the answers. Let's sit down and find them together.
Yep.
You know, I think that's going to bring people in. They're going to want more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Love the Discovery Bible Study. Again, shoot us an email. Talk to us. We'd love to talk to you more about that if you have questions about that. Offer in-person or virtual Bible studies. Some people still are at home. They don't want to get out. Some people are shut-ins. They can't get out. The best thing in the world about pandemic is us developing our shut-in reach out and internet evangelism. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's kind of exciting when you think about it.
Yep, absolutely it is. And look, churches have spent thousands of dollars to make it good. Use it. Don't just waste the Lord's money.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other one here is, we actually mentioned this earlier about visiting local businesses.
Yep.
Be a patron of what's close by to the building. Yep. Let them know where you are. Let them know what you do, and let them know the resources you have to offer as you need some of their resources. It's kind of like business trading, but good kind of business trading, and it gives you in the door. And when they think of a church, they'll think of you because you're the one they see the most.
Especially if you are in a smaller community, if those local businesses do not know your name, do not know that you're the one of the ministers at that congregation, it starts today to get out there and make sure they know who you are. Whether it's the gas station around the corner, whether it is, because I promise you, in the next week or two, my bougie coffee place downtown Calhoun is going to know my name, and they're going to remember everything about where we work and worship. And so use those opportunities to get to know, because even where Paul lives in Ball Ground, though it will be 30 minutes away, I guess, or whatever, from the building at Piedmont Road, they will know that he is the minister, one of the ministers at the Piedmont Road Church of Christ. They will know his name. And guess what? 30 minutes isn't bad, especially when you just hop on 575 and you're there.
People drive an hour to get to work anyway.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying, Paul. If you have a church, if you have a congregation that loves the Lord, that's excited about doing it, people read the book. This goes back to the book of Acts. Read Acts 4, 5, and 6. When you look at people who are not members of the church, saw the excitement and saw how the people were being taken care of with each other, that brought people to come to the Lord's church.
I don't know if you see this, but I see it on John's face, and I see it. I'm thinking it. I'm super excited right now. I can't wait to leave this building and walk out here and just share something, because it works. It works, and it's all about relationship. And,
it is.
People ask me sometimes, what is a connections minister? What is a connections minister? Think about it. We're all connections ministers.
Is that some fancy new word?
Yeah, that's a new thing. What are we doing there? Well, it's actually something we all should be doing anyway. It's not about the title. It's about what we get to do with it. And we get to meet people and greet people and connect community to church and church to community. And we'll have another show all about that another time. Right. On the visitors, when visitors come in and they do visit you, and they fill out cards. We at Palisades here don't have cards yet. We have cards. We want visitors to fill them out, but the pandemic deal. We're getting back to that. When you get that card and you get a phone number, you call them. If there's an email address, you email them. If there's an address, you send them a note. You communicate with them whatever you can. Don't bombard them with stuff, but find something to connect with them during the week. So at least they know we realize you came there. Thank you for visiting. What else can we do to offer? Is there anything that we can do to help you? Did you like your visit? Was there anything we can do to follow up with that? Just something to think about when it comes to the visitors. Make sure you take care of that.
And we would think, well, of course we're going to do that. But let me tell you something, and I will admit this because I was like this too. Ministers have phone call aversion. We sometimes we're afraid to text. We're afraid to make that phone call. Every single one of you that are afraid to do it, you need to pick up the phone, call Roy Johnson at ladstoleaders.com. And he will get you out of that phone call aversion. But
he fixed it.
He did. But Paul's right. We get the visitors come. If there's no follow-up from us at the office staff, that's where we're failing. We're failing that. We're missing missing a huge opportunity. And so it's just something simple, like Paul said, pick up the phone, call them, just say, hey, we glad you're here. Anything we can help you with, and just make that connection.
I would even, if it's a phone call, I would even ask them about their visit.
Yeah.
How did you find us? You know,
Mhm.
came in, were you greeted properly? Is there anything we can do better? You know?
Well, if you look at some companies, whether it's on email or on online or even through phone conversations, that's one of the questions they will ask.
Mhm.
How did you hear about us?
Right.
You hope it's because people are
Same.
telling them
Yeah.
about it. And you hope it's not just, well, I drove by and I saw your building and I liked the front of it, so I decided to come. But that other people are actually talking. But Paul, there's also something we can do when visitors actually get there. And it's something that you and I love the most, probably out of anything that we have that we're going to mention here.
I think so. You go ahead. I always jump on this one.
Hold on, Caitlin Thompson. She works with lads there. She said Roy will break anyone a phone call aversion in a heartbeat.
Oh my goodness. That picture tells us all
So,
over.
Caitlin, make sure you tell Roy that I mentioned that today on the show. That it will help. That it will help.
That is funny.
Yeah.
We do have one last real big thing we do want to talk about. Before we do that, I want to say this real quick. Visit your middle schools and your high schools. Volunteer in your local schools and be there, have a presence there. Whether you have kids that attend there or not, you're in that community and you're there for them. Yeah, and especially even if you don't have kids that attend there, just being a resource there, I think will mean a lot to the church, to the school, and especially if it's part of the community, you need to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that John just mentioned is called what we call the Connect 4 outreach program. And it's basically built on how you treat the visitor when he comes in the door. Okay, this is not about a relationship of a convert or someone new to town. This is if someone comes to the door and you don't know who they are,
right? And
so you need to make 4 connections.
Because Paul, what research says is that if they only meet one person, and we're not even necessarily talking about a connection, just meeting one person, right, there is over 90% chance they will not return that next Sunday or next time the door's open. They will not come back. Each time they make a connection, this is why we say connection, not just meeting somebody, but making a connection, which there is a huge difference. Right. Every time they make a connection, you increase your odds of them coming back. The reason why we say 4 is because if you go over 4 connections, it's almost overdrive of information that's coming in. And so, yes, there's still a 60% chance that person will not return, but you've increased your odds by 40% that they will come back. And so that's where you hope that you've made these connections to build upon.
So when they come to the front door, you introduce yourself to them. You find out something about them that's interesting and unique and ask where they're from or what brings them here. And then you find somebody behind you that's willing to grab a hand and say, well, I'd like to introduce you to John. Will you come over here and meet John? John, I'd like to introduce you to so-and-so, just came in. And then you're like, well, it's good to meet you. And then you take them to the next person.
Yep. And it's all about a team. And so this is not, because the one thing that was brought up is, what happens, if you got one greeter at the door and they're disappeared, then what about the next visitor to come in? You have a team. This is a team thing. This is why we've always said this is about a team thing. It's not a one person thing. Everybody has it and you build this up. And like Paul said, you're grabbing that one person, then you're taking that one person is making that connection. And you may find out through asking questions, hey, he's from Florida. Oh, he's from Florida. Let me let you go over here and meet John because he knows he's from Florida, so he knows about it, and you make that connection there. And then it's something bigger, like where we're at. It could be something, daycare things are needed. Oh, really? Well, let me go take you over here to the director of our early learning center, and she can go take you around and show you around what we got around this building and stuff. Making those connections, those relationships. This is where Paul is the guru on this right now, because it's about making those connections and those relationships to grow.
If you have a program called the Greeters Program, it is already going to fail. Mm-hmm. You cannot choose 8 people on a certain Sunday to be the door people. You need to make sure it goes back to the DNA thing, the DNA of being a Christian, of being a member of that congregation. Every person in the building should be qualified to meet and talk to and greet. And that's it. Because if you turn around, you're like, oh, they can't do it. They don't know about this. And they can't. Yeah, they're members. They live and breathe in this same community. They're perfect. So don't designate people. I realize you got to have a person on the door. That's one thing. But everybody in the church needs to be somebody that is qualified to be able to help. And once they met that fourth person, they move from being a visitor to a friend.
Right.
And
that's the key. Yes. And that's where Paul just nailed it. There's something you said, Paul, and I want to encourage everybody who's watching this, whether you're a minister or you're just a regular member at your congregation, you may be a deacon, whatever. If you do not know what is going on at your congregation, start this weekend, start Sunday when you go up in there, find out exactly what your church is involved in, know about what's going on. If you don't know what's going on at your congregation, how are you going to invite anybody to come and be a part of it?
That's a good point. That's huge. Yeah.
So,
everybody needs to be involved.
Right.
It goes back to destroying the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people do all
when you said that, there's probably not a more true statement you've made in this podcast than that. We've got to destroy that 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's good. I like the part where you rolled your sleeves up and you showed them your muscle.
I didn't roll any sleeve up. That's actually just where my sleeve is. I just look when I was talking. Oh my!
I need to tan up my arm if I'm going to show it like that. Anyway, work to do. It's okay. Not perfect.
Oh my word! What am I going to do with you?
Okay, so that is the Acts formula.
Yeah.
Sharpen the axe, using the Book of Acts, and getting to that point and changing the culture. That's it. Changing the culture of your congregation, which in turn will change the culture of. That's funny. Maybe in on that for sure. Changing the culture of your community, and that's the big thing.
Hey, that's amazing, Paul, and that's what we want to do. And hey, we've enjoyed this season with you. It's still a crazy time with us. We will be back some throughout the summer and talk about a couple other things and things that are going on. We know camps are starting back up. We pray that y'all have a good, safe summer. We know some camps are still got some rules on them because of the COVID. We're still fighting that, so it's not done. So please make sure you do stay safe. Don't be stupid. And Paul, it's just, I think everybody's ready for the fall to get here and kick back in and have normal time. We'll have college football we can talk about again because fans will be allowed to come back to the stadium. I would say that's a good thing, but it hasn't helped Atlanta do anything for winning baseball.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, what happens, Paul, if Alabama lets fans in, they start losing? I think Nick Saban will kick all the fans out. Get out of here. You're hurting us.
Probably will. And we can get into the sports part just for a second here. I'm not real sure that Alabama fans are dealing with reality if they think that we're going to have as good a year as we did last year, because we lost a lot of good things. Our defense will be top 5, no doubt about that. You're welcome, Aunt Ruby. Thank you.
Ruby, thank you.
She probably didn't appreciate my Auburn comment earlier.
That's one of watching on YouTube right there too, Paul.
Oh, cool.
And so, hey, don't forget, we are on YouTube now. So go and definitely like and subscribe. Get that algorithm working for the John and Paul Show.
Do it. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I didn't say it before. Let me say it now. I want to say thank you to the Lives Leaders Program for being one of our sponsors. Also, the Palisades Church of Christ and the LJ Church of Christ in LJ, Georgia, and the Piedmont Road Church of Christ in Marietta, Georgia. I
got one too.
I have it. And the Calhoun Church of Christ is now offering some time for
you get 2, I get 2.
Professor Podine. We're going to have so many sponsors. We won't be able to do a show. I keep forgetting, like we're all going to be there.
I missed the AU comment. I just considered the source. Is she an Auburn fan?
Oh my word! I would say an Auburn legacy. My entire family. So my papa, my mom.
Oh, that's right. You're all Auburn fans except for you.
Kids.
Yeah,
5
you're the
kids.
See, Ruby
cousin was president of Auburn.
That's right. See, Ruby, my daughter goes there, and so I have to watch what I say around Paul because he just gives me a hard time with it.
Yeah. Luckily, and I love my family. I will say this: our family is so close and has been so close for so many years. for some reason, it's worked out to where I'm never in town during the Iron Bowl, and they never come by and see me during our national championship games. So we're able to, Thanksgiving and Christmas are great. It didn't fall on the wrong day, so we're good. We get to love each other, and
He can take it. I force him to take it because he can't say anything negative about Caitlin. So that's why he has to do it.
Okay.
Except he does not like when I send him pictures of the Iron Bowl when I was there at Auburn the last couple of years.
Like one time. I think one time.
Yeah, I didn't send you any pictures last year that I went. The last time it was at Auburn because I knew you.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Most of the family's big on Auburn. Although I will say this, and our Piedmont Road folks will probably love hearing this. The other day, Stephanie Sperlin, my wife, said, I'm going to break out the Bulldog salt and pepper shakers.
What?
Why would you do that? What's happening right now? Because her father, the Pope, Philip Hines, and Julia, they raised their children right. It's a Crimson Tide family, and I just don't understand what's happening right now. But she said she loves Bulldogs, and she said that's a place I can have Bulldogs. And I said, you know what? We don't play them that much. Sure,
ask your father-in-law what it was like when he went up when he was up in Pennsylvania with all of us. That when somebody asked where he was from, he said, "Well, let me give you a hint. What does the phrase "roll tide" mean to you?" She goes, "I don't know. What is it?" I was laughing my head off. I was like,
football in the Northeast anyway.
Unless you're a Penn State fan where we were, I'm not sure anybody would know. But it was hilarious. I was giving him a major hard time about it.
That is funny. Well, this has been fun. I've really enjoyed the Auburn talk. And yes.
Which, by the way, if you have not seen the latest SEC shorts, Paul, you need to go watch it. It's actually so accurate. If you're an Auburn fan, it is so accurate to what it is.
I'm not an Auburn fan,
but you need to go watch it. You need to go. You will laugh.
Get ready to fam. Y'all enjoy it, I guess.
No, you will laugh at it, Paul.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you will laugh.
Maybe y'all shouldn't go watch it then.
It was funny. It was funny. I laughed at it.
Well, it will be interesting to see what happens with one team with a new coach and the other team with a new quarterback. We'll see what happens. Speaking about the state of Alabama, and then actually Georgia doesn't have a new quarterback. They have their Heisman hopeful there.
Sure. I saw it. Not funny. I thought it was hilarious. All the Auburn fans were.
Well, he's a Gator fan. What does he care?
Well, all the Auburn fans were commenting. They said, as an Auburn fan, I can say this is exactly what it feels like. It was called the Auburn fan experience. And so one time they'd ride, it'd be great. The next time it'd be like, how did that happen?
Maybe I will go watch it.
You need to go watch it. It was pretty funny. Not gonna lie.
Well, to the Sperlins in North Alabama, I miss you and love you. And we're about to make a move in another couple of weeks. To everybody else, to anybody else, we're going to be right here. We're going to be right here, and we look forward to continuing to share some things with you when it comes to God's Word and whatever we can do to help grow the kingdom. That's what it's all about. For all of our sponsors, thank you. For Caleb Sampson, who produces this good show. Thank you, Caleb, for your work and all that you do. Please consider the ACTS formula. If you have any questions, please send us an email at either Paul, John, or Caleb at ministrylead.com, and we can get this information to you, come talk to you, whatever we need to do on that. We'd love to do that. But for John Podine, I am Paul Sperlin. This has been the John and Paul Show. Thank you for watching. We're on the Ministry League, theministryleague.com, or ministryleague.com website and the app. It's all free. Take part of it, enjoy it, and have a great summer. We love you. We hope you do well. We hope you are well and stay well. And God bless. And don't forget to subscribe.